Hey there, home buyer. This is Neil Ojewski with Surfside Home Inspections and homeinspectionsbyneil.com. You can visit our website there and get more of these videos. Right now, what I'm going to talk to you about is a little 4-point inspection, in particular the plumbing area. There's a couple of things we look at on the plumbing, and those would be the water heater and the piping underneath the sinks. That's what we're going to be looking at when we come by your place to see if we can get you qualified for your insurance. Real quick, on the water heater, there's just a few things we look at. One, we want to know whether or not the water heater is leaking. We'll look down at the base, see if the pan's got any water in, look for rust, things of that nature. Another thing we look at is the electrical connections. If the electrical connections are exposed, the little junction box is open, that's going to be an issue. It needs to be in conduit, and it can't just be Romex that's unprotected. Also, the Tpr valve. The Tpr valve, I'll show it to you in just a moment. The Tpr valve has to have a drain line attached to it, and it has to be 3/4 inch, and it has to be made of rigid material. Copper tubing, stainless steel tubing, CPVC. Cannot use PVC. PVC is not for hot water. Hot water heater is going to spit out hot water if that emergency valve lets loose. So real quick, let me show you here. Okay, see the electrical connection? This one is done properly. Notice that there's no exposed Romex that's here. This is just a grounding wire, and that grounds right to the case, which is a safety feature that you want. But notice that the conduit goes all the way around, goes into the wall with nothing left exposed. Another thing we're going to be looking at here is the pipes. These pipes, generally speaking, we don't want to see any corrosion on them. We don't want to see any leaks, and we don't want to see any leaking at the valve stem, and looking for a general good condition there. The other very important area is this. This is your TPR, temperature and pressure relief valve. Every water heater has to have one, and it has to have a drain line attached to it, and that drain line has to be 3/4 inch. That's what that has to be. I see a lot of them come with 1/2 inch, which will not pass muster as far as code goes. Also, people sometimes will have a flexible line attached to this. It can't be flexible. It has to be rigid. It has to be copper, PVC, stainless, galvanized steel is fine, and it has to terminate within 6 inches of the floor in order to be done properly. It can also go outside and piped in a fashion that goes outside, goes through a wall, and ends up expelling anything that comes through that valve, ends up going outside. That has to be done with no more than 4 elbows, and again, all rigid material. PEX is not rigid material. But that is pretty much the sum of it as to what we need to do for the water heater. The other thing we're going to look at in just a minute in our next video is going to be the piping underneath the sinks, both in the kitchen and the bathrooms. Thanks, and we'll talk to you again real soon.